Welcome, everyone, ready to dive deep into something pretty fascinating. We're tackling the 7 factors of awakening today.
Sounds intriguing.
We're looking at excerpts from, let me see, the 7 factors for awakening. It's on dhammatalks.org.
Okay, yeah.
It's like we're going to uncover this, like, mental toolkit for, more clarity, maybe even, like, liberation.
I like where this is going. These factors, they're pretty central to Buddhist thought.
Yeah, and the source, it gives us these 2 really cool ways to picture them. Like, 1, imagine a spiral staircase
Right.
leading to higher understanding. And then 2, it's like a holographic image where everything's like interconnected.
Both are actually useful. That spiral staircase, it shows how these factors, they're progressive.
So you start with a solid base, and each step kind of builds on the last one.
Exactly. Mindfulness is where it all begins. It's the, foundation of awareness, right?
Yeah.
Then you got discernment. That's the ability to see what's helpful, what's not helpful for your mind.
So you're not just aware, you're starting to, like, analyze and actually make choices.
Precisely. And that leads to persistence, the energy to really cultivate the good stuff, let go of the bad. And get this is where it gets really interesting. That effort, it fuels the next 4 factors: rapture, serenity, concentration, and equanimity.
Okay, gotta admit, equanimity, it's one of those words I hear a lot, but not always sure I totally get it.
Think of it like this, that unshakable inner peace. It comes when we learn to stop clinging to the good stuff and resisting the bad stuff. Really powerful state of mental balance.
So it's not being blah or, indifferent. It's more like this deep, stable center can weather any storm, right?
Yeah, exactly. But now you might be thinking, hold on, this sounds super advanced.
Yeah, like, are these only for, I don't know, people on a mountaintop meditating toward enlightenment?
Right. Like, is it even relevant to daily life?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Emails to answer, deadlines, the usual chaos.
Great point. And actually, the source addresses that directly. It says these 7 factors, they're not just for those seeking, full-on enlightenment. They're tools for right now, for everyday concentration, well-being.
So even if I'm not, say, aiming for complete liberation from suffering, right now, these factors can help me focus better, get less distracted by, well, everything.
Precisely. It even says how the factors help us starve the bad mental habits, they call them hindrances, while feeding the positive ones.
Feeding and starving. Can you give me, like, a real-life example of that?
Let's say you're wrestling with uncertainty. Happens to everyone, right? That's a hindrance. But if you start analyzing your thoughts, like skillfully breaking them down, seeing if they're helpful or not, that's discernment, one of the factors. Helps you overcome that uncertain feeling, starving it by feeding its opposite, clear understanding.
So it's like shining a light on those doubtful thoughts. See if they, I don't know, hold up under scrutiny.
Exactly. And the more we do that, the stronger those positive mental factors get, leading to greater clarity and stability mentally.
Makes sense. Now, that holographic idea you mentioned, how's it all interconnected?
Well, the source says these factors are, quote, holographically present, unquote, in mindfulness practice. So every part reflects the whole.
So even starting out, all 7 factors are somehow there, just waiting to be developed.
Good way to think about it. The spiral view, it shows how they build on each other over time, right? Holographic view shows how they all support each other right now in each moment.
So process Engi, state of being, kind of.
Yeah.
Building skills, but also working with all the elements at once. What really fascinates me is this appropriate attention idea. The source really emphasizes that as, like, key to the 7 factors.
It is key. It's like, imagine a mental spotlight, right? Where you shine it, what you focus on, that's what makes all the difference. And this isn't just for meditation. It's like for how we approach everything.
So choosing where we put our energy instead of getting swept away by, every distraction or worry.
Exactly. And the text, it actually gives a method for developing that appropriate attention. First, you got to accurately label the hindrances and factors as they come up, like become a detective of your own mind.
So instead of just feeling stressed, I'd go, okay, anxiety's showing up right now.
Yes. Then investigate. What causes them? What makes them stronger, weaker? Finally, look at the questions you're asking yourself. Are they helping you get clarity or just adding to the mental noise?
Good point. Sometimes those questions, they just keep us stuck in a loop, don't they?
Appropriate attention is about learning to ask the questions that lead to more insight, more clarity, and ultimately more freedom.
All this makes sense, but how do you know if you're doing it right? Any particular technique?
Oh, there's tons of techniques for these factors. But the source gives some key insights. Remember that balance we talked about. Crucial here, too. You use different factors to counteract specific hindrances. Let's say you're restless.
Can't settle the mind yet. Know that feeling all too well.
Text suggests cultivating serenity and concentration to calm that scattered energy.
So those calming factors, they're like an antidote to the restlessness. But how do I know if my efforts are, like, going anywhere? Is there a measurement?
There is a standard of measurement, the source says. Ideally, each factor is developed in a way that leads to seclusion, dispassion, cessation, and a sense of letting go.
Okay, now we're getting into some deep stuff. Seclusion, dispassion, that sounds pretty intense, talking about becoming a hermit, giving up all pleasures.
Not necessarily. Remember, these terms, they have practical meanings and also, more transcendent ones. Seclusion practically could just be creating space to practice, finding a quiet corner at home, disconnecting from technology. Dispassion, it's about loosening that grip of craving and aversion.
So not becoming indifferent to everything, but finding that balance where you're not constantly reacting to every little thing.
Exactly. And cessation, it points towards that temporary stilling of the mind you get in deep meditation, but it's not forcing your mind blank. It's more about letting thoughts come and go, not getting swept away.
Okay, makes more sense. What about letting go? What's that mean here?
It's releasing attachment to thoughts, emotions, stuff, even ideas about ourselves.
That's a tall order. But I can see how it would be, like, incredibly freeing to not be so attached to everything.
Absolutely. And these qualities, seclusion, dispassion, cessation, letting go, they're not separate goals, but kind of aspects of the path itself.
Right.
As you cultivate the 7 factors, they emerge naturally.
Like they're woven together, supporting each other. There's one thing about all this Buddha stuff that always throws me off. Not self. Feels a bit nihilistic, like, if there's no self, what's the point?
Common misunderstanding. Interestingly, this source, it doesn't tell you to obsess over whether a self exists or not. It says, shift the focus to how this idea can help, practically, to alleviate suffering.
Less abstract philosophy, more practical application. I like that. But how do you apply not self in real life?
Instead of asking, do I exist, which can lead to endless debate, try this. Is this mine? Is this me?
Trying to wrap my head around that. What kind of this are we talking?
Anything.
Yeah.
Thoughts, feelings, sensations, possessions, situations, anything. Is this mine? Is this me? Helps you look at attachment, clinging.
So if I'm, like, anxious about a work deadline and I ask, is this anxiety mine? Is this me? Then what?
You might realize that anxiety, it's not inherently you. It's happening in your awareness, but doesn't define who you are deep down. The text goes even further. It says, ask, if I see these things as me or mine, will there be suffering?
So clinging to that anxiety like it's part of me just creates more suffering.
And here's the tie-in to letting go.
Yeah.
By identifying with less, seeing that these experiences aren't inherently you, you get freedom, clarity.
It's about changing your relationship to those experiences, not pretending they don't exist.
Precisely. This not self idea. It's not nihilism. It's about seeing how fluid, how impermanent experience is, and that leads to peace, liberation.
Helpful way to think about it, like decluttering the mind, letting go of all that baggage we tend to carry around.
Perfect analogy. This letting go, it's not a one-time thing. It's ongoing. The 7 factors, they're the roadmap for that journey.
Seems like these factors, they're less a concept and more a guide to living with, I don't know, more clarity, peace, even in all the daily chaos.
That's it. It's about making these principles part of how we live, part of our daily awareness.
So we've got the spiral staircase, the interconnectedness, even not self. What else is there?
Well, we could look at how these factors show up in meditation practice, specifically the 4 frames of reference.
Hold on, before we jump into that, let's take a moment to recap what we've covered. Just, let it all sink in a bit.
Excellent idea.
Okay.
Sometimes the most important part of any journey is pausing to appreciate the view.
Okay, I think we've had a moment to process all that. You were about to take us into meditation and the 4 frames of reference, right?
Yeah, the source, it points out how the 7 factors, they naturally come up when you're doing this particular meditation practice.
Okay, for anyone needing a refresher, what are the 4 frames of reference again?
They're the 4 basic areas of awareness in Buddhist meditation: body, feelings, mind, and mental qualities. Developing clear and present awareness of what's going on in each one.
Right, like shining that spotlight we talked about onto different parts of our experience. So how do the 7 factors fit into that?
Well, the text says, by focusing on any of those frames, you're naturally engaging all 7 factors.
So it's all one system, kind of.
Exactly, like package deal. Let's say you're doing mindfulness of the breath. That's the body, right?
So just sitting, paying attention to the breath going in, out.
Right. And doing that, paying attention, that's mindfulness, the first factor. already happening. Then you might notice your mind wandering, thinking about, I don't know, emails, dinner, whatever.
Oh yeah, my mind's an expert wanderer for sure.
That's where discernment comes in, the second factor.
Yeah.
You see that distraction, it's a hindrance, pulling you away from what you're focusing on.
So aware of breath, get distracted, use discernment to label it. Then what?
Then gently, you bring your attention back to the breath. That's persistence, third factor, in action.
Not about beating myself up for getting distracted, just gently guiding the mind back.
And as you do this, you might even feel these like little moments of joy, peace as you settle into the breath. That's rapture. Fourth factor starting to come up.
So it's not force, it just kind of appears as you practice.
Exactly. And that peace, it deepens into serenity. Fifth factor, as your mind gets more concentrated.
Seeing how they all like build on each other, it's pretty dynamic. But what about concentration itself?
As your attention gets steady, less distracted, that's when you enter concentration, the sixth factor. Deep meditation, this can lead to like deep absorption, the mind super still, focused.
This is painting a pretty vivid picture. What about equanimity, the last one?
Equanimity, it comes naturally as you get less reactive to all the ups and downs in your experience. Thoughts, sensations, emotions, they come and go, but they don't like shake your inner peace anymore.
Like you've got space around your experience, not so caught up in the drama of it all.
Exactly. And what's really cool is this isn't just for meditation. You can apply it to anything.
Not just sitting on a cushion, but bringing these qualities to like everything we do.
Exactly. Imagine you're stressed about a presentation at work.
Oh, don't have to imagine. Got one next week.
Well, instead of getting overwhelmed, you start by bringing mindfulness to it. Feel the stress in your body, the thoughts, no judgment.
So not pushing the stress away, just noticing it's there?
Right. Then discernment. Are there things you can do about this stress?
Like, maybe I haven't prepared enough, or I'm trying to do too much, need to delegate.
Exactly. And once you've got those action steps, persistence kicks in.
Yeah.
You commit to doing what you can.
And as I'm working through it skillfully, those feelings of peace, equanimity might start coming up. Like the 7 factors or, I don't know, supporting me through it.
That's the idea. They're practical tools for dealing with life's ups and downs, with more wisdom, more resilience.
Okay, starting to see how connected it all is. We've got the staircase, the holographic image, the tools.
And now, how they work within this specific meditation, the 4 frames.
But one thing I'm still wondering, we talk about cultivating these factors, but does that ever end? Like, is there a point where, I don't know, you've mastered them all, you're done?
Ooh, good question. That goes deeper than just the techniques. It gets to the heart of this whole path.
You said it gets to what awakening really means. So is there a final destination? You master all 7, you're like, done.
Well, the source, it has a very interesting take on this. It says true awakening, it's not a fixed endpoint. It's more of an ongoing process.
So not like reaching the top of the stairs, okay, I'm here.
Not exactly. Think of it more like a dance, this constant interplay of the factors with, your experience, which is always changing.
Interesting image. So even if you've been practicing for years, you've got deep insight, there's still more to discover.
The journey of awakening, it's about constantly deepening your understanding, refining your awareness, freeing yourself from those patterns that hold you back.
Makes sense. It's not about achieving some perfect state. It's about this dynamic process of growth, transformation.
Exactly. And that process, it's fueled by the 7 factors. They're the guides, the support, the catalysts along the way.
So even someone like deeply awakened, they're still engaging with these factors.
In a way, yeah. Maybe not consciously striving to cultivate them the same way as someone just starting out.
More like they've become so, I don't know, integrated. They just happen naturally, like breathing.
Beautiful analogy. The source even says, for a truly awakened being, these factors aren't separate things. They're just different aspects of one awareness.
Not compartmentalizing, mindfulness here, discernment there, but realizing it's all woven together.
That's it. And as you go on this path, you start experiencing that connection more and more.
This is really changing how I think about awakening. It's not a far-off goal. It's about embodying these qualities right now.
That's the power of the 7 factors. Not just concepts, but living principles that can change how we experience everything, how we interact with the world.
This has been incredibly rich. I feel like I'm not just understanding these 7 factors intellectually, but like starting to feel how they can actually shape my life.
It's been wonderful sharing this with you. And remember, this is just the start of your exploration.
For sure. And for our listeners wanting to go deeper, we highly recommend checking out the source we've been using, The 7 Factors for Awakening, on dhammatalks.org.
It's packed with wisdom, can really guide you as you cultivate these qualities in yourself.
And on that note, we come to the end of our deep dive. Hope you found it as insightful as we have. Until next time, keep those mental spotlights bright and keep exploring the amazing potential of the 7 factors of awakening. Okay, we're back and ready to pick up where we left off. That whole idea of an endpoint when you're cultivating these 7 factors, remember?
Right. That question, it goes beyond just techniques, Gets to the core of the path itself.
You said it gets to what awakening really means. So is there like a final destination? You master all 7, boom, you're done.
Well, this source, it has a really nuanced view on that. It says, true awakening, it's not a fixed point, more like an ongoing unfolding.
So it's not like climbing to the top of the mountain and woo, made it.
Not quite. Think of it, maybe more like a dance. This constant back and forth between the factors within your experience, which is always changing, of course.
Okay, I like that image. So even if someone's been practicing forever, they've got deep insight, there's still more to discover.
Always. The journey of awakening, it's about continually going deeper, refining your awareness, and, freeing yourself from those patterns that hold you back.
So not about reaching some perfect state, but more of a dynamic thing, growth, transformation.
Exactly. And that process, it's fueled by the 7 factors. They're the guides, the support, the catalysts along the way.
Even someone who's, I don't know, super awakened, they're still working with these factors.
In a way, yes. Might not be consciously trying to cultivate them the same way as someone just starting, though.
More like they've become so ingrained, so natural, it's just like how they operate now.
Beautiful way to put it. The source even suggests, for a truly awakened being, those factors aren't separate things anymore. They're all just facets of this unified awareness.
Not mindfulness over here, discernment over there, but seeing it's all woven together.
Exactly. And the further you go on this path, the more you experience that interconnectedness.
Wow, this is really shifting how I think about awakening. It's not some far-off goal. It's about living these qualities right now, in each moment.
That's the power, the real power, of the 7 factors. They're not just concepts, they're living principles. Can change how we see everything, how we interact with the world.
This has been incredible, really. I feel like I'm not just, understanding these 7 factors in my head, but actually starting to feel how they can shape how I live.
Wonderful to hear. And remember, this is just the beginning. Your own exploration is just starting.
Absolutely. And for everyone listening, if you want to dive deeper, check out the source we've been talking about, the 7 Factors for Awakening, on dhammatalks.org.
Tons of wisdom in there can guide you as you work on these qualities within yourself.
And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive today. Hope you found it as insightful as we did. Until next time, keep those mental spotlights shining bright. Keep exploring the amazing potential of these 7 factors of awakening.